It's a very, very dangerous situation. And I think that this accounts for the almost sort of change of temperament and outlook by Keir Starmer. He knows now through his national security advisor, Jonathan Powell, this is really serious. And it's Europe has got to deal with it because America, as I said, it's not only unpredictable, unreliable, but the Trump approach, you're quite right to flag the Zaporizhia power plant, for instance. It's so completely unpredictable. It's wild stuff in some ways.
Well, let's speak to Robert Fox now, the defence editor for the Evening Standard. Evening, Robert.
Evening.
What do we make of today, then? Sir Keir Starmer sending out a warning to Vladimir Putin, then, that he faces severe consequences if he breaches a peace deal with Ukraine. I suppose the immediate issue is that peace deal is still very much being worked through.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a whiff of indecision being final about this, because we understood that the meeting at Northwood with defence chiefs was to do contingency planning. And as you rightly said in the headlines, contingency planning for what? It cannot be for a peacekeeping force because it simply wouldn't be accepted by Russia. We're now told it might be a reassurance force. I think that's in the foreground, which is very much at the front of Sir Keir Starmer's agenda. He wants to show that Europe is doing something and that Britain and France particularly are in the lead of that. But they have got to do other things, particularly in view of the performance of Trump and Putin, where they have a great similarity because they are both reliably unpredictable. And I think that must be worrying everybody in between, including Ukraine.
The justification behind Keir Starmer meeting military chiefs today was that you are better to prepare for this even in the absence of a peace deal. I spoke to Dominic Tricond earlier. He'll be joining us a little bit later on. And we used the phrase, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And that's sort of very much the theme of what Keir Starmer's organising here, I suppose. He's taking the lead. I suppose the issue really here, Robert, is although we know that Macron and France have committed troops like Keir Starmer has, should that be part of a peace agreement, no other European or indeed Western nation has done that yet.
And there are very worrying signs. For instance, generally reasonably quite reliable, the Dutch Parliament voted the other day not even to send any more money to Ukraine, let alone commit to the very large new defence contingency fund that Ursula von der Leyen has launched, 800 billion euro, with 150 billion theoretically immediately available. And that's what I think is really going on in the background. And I think Britain, France, Germany, Poland, Finland, I'm not going to go through the full list, the Nordics, the Norwegians, the Baltics, of course, are very important. They're saying this is real. We are facing a very, very threatening scenario, which the others don't seem to appreciate. And I'd just like to add that I think this is going to feature very strongly in the Strategic Defence Review, which now will be coming quite soon. I'm sure it's going to be coming possibly before Easter, just after. But there's been a wonderful omerta about that. But I did trick one of the architects into telling me the outline of a lot of it. And this person had been involved in the very good, very well thought out review of Tony Blair's first government of '98. And I said, what's the comparison between then and now? And this is embedded in intelligence. And it's intelligence, real-time intelligence, and how they see it. And what they feel with the Defence Review, and this relates exactly to Northwood and what we're doing now, is that they are feeling that in the new terms, we are in an imminent, if not actual, state of war. So what allies like Britain and France, and indeed Germany, are seized of, they may have to do things or prepare things with their allies, like Poland and Finland. I'm not going to go through the list again, without America. Without American top cover, without American intelligence, without the American nuclear umbrella, which is a very big thing since Russia has revised its doctrine about the first use of tactical weapons. It's a very, very dangerous situation. And I think that this accounts for the almost sort of change of temperament and outlook by Keir Starmer. He knows now through his national security advisor, Jonathan Powell, this is really serious. And it's Europe has got to deal with it because America, as I said, it's not only unpredictable, unreliable, but the Trump approach, you're quite right to flag the Zaporizhia power plant, for instance. It's so completely unpredictable. It's wild stuff in some ways.
Yeah, certainly. With Zelensky saying, look, we discussed the US getting involved with the power plant, providing personnel, ideas, looking at technology for the future, but we certainly didn't say that we'd hand control of it over to Donald Trump. How do you think Keir Starmer's counterparts in Europe particularly, and I've got a kind of an EU slant on this, Robert, but how are they in all honesty accepting the guidance from him because Keir Starmer's the one that's sort of stood up and been bothered to do it, or seems to have a good relationship with Donald Trump, so it might as well be Keir Starmer more than anyone kind of thing, because that is the position that he's put himself in? Or are they humouring him? How do defence officials, how do Keir Starmer's counterparts really consider him as this sort of pseudo-leader of a European army that he's sort of turning into?
Well, they have a tremendous love-hate relationship with the Brits. They're absolutely fed up with UK altogether because of Brexit, because right now they would like Britain in there. They would like Britain leading the two-headed features of defence, security, resilience. In other words, the European bit of NATO, which is worrying in view of the United States, and the EU, their growing defence posture and formation. And people like Ursula von der Leyen would really like the Brits there. The other thing is about the British military, which has gone through terrible times. It's been hollowed out. But what they like, and the Ukrainians like, is they're very good at planning. By that, I mean not theoretical planning, the kind of stuff they would actually have been drilling through with the French. They do it actually very well with the French because they exercise quite a lot. And they say, gosh, you know, we really need you now. We've seen what you've done in Ukraine. I say very, very quietly, we've done a hell of a lot, which hasn't been publicized in planning and liaising and watching the defense posture, if I can put it as simply as that,
Okay.
of Ukraine. And that is going to be required again, because I don't think that this has got through to the new Trump administration. The Brits, the French, the Germans, these and the strong Nordics realize we have got to be with Ukraine, because Ukraine is the first frontier against this newly aggressive Russia, because Russia is now committed to war. The whole configuration of the Putin regime, its regime at home, its security regime, and its economy, above all, is geared to all-out war across Ukraine. And if that goes wrong, it is bad for all of us.
I mean, I suppose Donald Trump's, or the view that we can take of Donald Trump so far, and look, maybe he's just playing a fantastic game of negotiation, but his approach, you know, saying all of us are worried about it, the United States are worried about the, you know, power Russia could potentially have and what that means going forward. If we look at the really big picture of what Putin wants to achieve, he wants to, you know, bring back the Soviet Union, unite nations together that he feels want to belong to Russia again, even though we know that they clearly don't. Donald Trump's approach so far, Robert, has been to sort of, you know, almost kill Putin with kindness. I know that's exaggerating it a little bit, but he doesn't, or he's certainly not coming across like he is completely concerned about it. He wants Vladimir Putin as a friend rather than a foe. That is his way of dealing with that potential threat.
Well, can I put it backwards, forwards, as it were? Backwards is he's going about it in a very odd way, isn't he? Why is he going out of his way just to annoy, rather aggressively in personal terms, close and, in some cases, key allies, namely Canada, 51st state, and Denmark over Greenland, where his insulting phone call to the Danish Prime Minister, was that really called for? Yes, you're quite right. He's being rotten to some of his allies and mollifying Russia. He wants Putin as a buddy. The only thing is that is the one justification of that is that he wants to detach Russia, Putin Russia, mineral rich, key in the Arctic, from its reliance and its almost client status now because of the war to China. That is a very long Machiavellian reach. And I don't think it's achievable, by the way, because I think that Russia is so in debt in so many ways to China that he's not going to succeed in detaching that. And that's why there is something, it's the word, it sounds rude, but technically it's quite so. There's something almost unhinged about the Trump approach, trying to rewrite the Monroe Doctrine. We're going to carve up the world, that we will have hegemony in the American continent and in our part of the Arctic. I mean, since ancient times, allies have always been important, and you cannot play the nobby no-mates role in geopolitics. Least of all can you really do it, as both the Chinese and the Russians know, as a superpower.
Look, really interesting food for thought there, Robert Fox. Thank you for your excellent analysis, as always. Robert Fox is defence editor for the Evening Standard. Robert, we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.